What advice would you give your children that are graduating in regards to buying their very first home? Now, this is an important question to me. I have 5 kids, and I think through this. I'm also a professional real estate agent, and I'm an investor, and I love my children, and I want to help support them to be able to be in the best position that they can for everything that the Lord has for them in their life. So, what advice do I have for my children? And I want to share this with you that you can glean from some of my thoughts, and you can consider if you would share in this for you to be able to encourage your own kiddos in this. Well, the first piece of advice that I have for my kids is buy as fast as you can when you are financially able. Okay, buy as fast as you can when you are financially able. Obviously, financially able, we're not wanting our children to get in over their heads too fast, right? Though I want them to buy a home as fast as they can. And that's really for 2 reasons. One is to lock in their living expenses. I don't know if you realize this, but if you are renting, you're subject to the landlord increasing rents. And statistically, rents do increase 2% every single year. And so instead of them paying 2% more on rent, I would rather them get used to saving. And the only way they can truly do that is if they lock in their expenses every year. And you have to do that by buying a house. The second reason why I think buying a house fast is going to be very helpful for my children is because they get to immediately benefit from appreciation. So homes appreciate in value somewhere between 4 to 5% every single year without you even realizing it. And so the faster that my kids can buy a home, they get to benefit in the back end from appreciation, which is increasing their net worth. And that is going to play volumes in their future opportunities. If it's more homes, if it's, maybe going to the mission field, or there's going to be so many things. If they're increasing their net worth by owning a home, that's only going to have positive effects for them. So buy a home as fast as you can. Here's my second piece of advice for my children, and that is the very first home that you buy around 70% of the average sale price in that area. Okay, buy a home at 70% of the average sales price. Now, the reason why I suggest that is really 2 reasons. The first reason why I think buying 70% of the average list price is important is because there's always going to be a rental market for that home. Often that rental market will also be able to rent easier. And it's not 50% because often that can bring a kind of clientele that sometimes doesn't have as much secure stability in their life. And when you're renting a home, you would like to be able to rent it to a tenant who has as much stability as they can, right? So for my own children, I want them to buy a home that's about 70% of the average price point in that area, because if they do choose to keep it as a rental property and then go buy another home down the line, it's a great rental property. Okay, so that's key. But then the second reason why I really think 70% of the average price point is important is it's also an exit strategy to protect my kids. So it's a recession-proof number, meaning there's always a market for the homes that are at around that 70% of the average price point in the area, meaning the interest rates can go crazy and those houses still sell. Okay, it can turn into a buyer's market and those houses still sell. And so it helps them if they had to sell, they know they're living in a home that there's always going to be a market for. So how do you find out the average price point in the area you're looking to buy in? Google it. Just literally go Google. I live in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And so if I were to go Google Fredericksburg, Spotsylvania, average price point, listen, Zillow, Realtor.com, all of these are going to tell you. For me, it's $499,000 in this area. So for my kids, That means their aim is to be able to go buy a $350,000 house for their very first home. Around that, right? Plus or minus a little bit. But I don't really want them buying the $200,000 house because it's not going to appreciate as much. And I don't obviously want them to go buy something super expensive, even if they can afford it, because I want them to have a good exit strategy. I want them to be able to have a good rental property, and I want them to learn how to lock in their living expenses early. So that's the advice that I give to my children. I encourage you to think about what advice would you give to your children who are graduating, who are beginning their careers when it comes to buying their first home. I think it is a very important question, and I hope this equipped you with some answers. God bless.